Okay.
Namaste, everyone. Welcome to my channel, Yoga with Preeti and Beyond. I have a very special guest today, Dr. Manna Semby from San Diego. She is the founder and CEO of Aruna Personalized Medicine. So, welcome, Dr. Semby.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Preeti. I'm glad we are talking today.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about your background, Dr. Sambi? I think it will really help and benefit my audience here.
Sure. Yes. So I am a naturopathic and functional medicine doctor, and this is my second career. My first career was in the corporate world, just like a lot of you. I started my career at Goldman Sachs in New York City, in the world of numbers and finance, and it was great. And then health challenges in my family made me realize that doctors don't have all the answers. We think doctors have all the answers, but they don't have the answers. So when it comes to you, your own health, your family's health, sometimes you have to find the hard way what is right for you. And when my children were diagnosed with special needs when they were very young, and our pediatrician said that there was nothing she could do for us, I was like, okay, well, then we have to help ourselves. So that started my journey into alternative complementary medicine. I found homeopathy first. I found naturopathic medicine. I found functional medicine. And so for the last many years, this has been my life, is all about first, it was for my children. Then it was for myself, my family, and then I just kept going. And now it's like where I have been in my life is like, okay, perimenopause, menopause, brain health, breast cancer, all the things that women of this age are concerned about. And I have had my own set of experiences, again, with doctors, um, making me feel like they still don't have a lot of answers, and it's still up to us to figure out what is right for us, what kind of prevention we want to implement in our lives, and if we want to see health as a foundation for the rest of our lives, right? If we don't have health, we cannot pursue anything else. But we have to understand that, and then we have to prioritize our health. That's where I am now.
Think it just sum it all, right? Like you are a go-getter, right? So, hey, there's an issue. I'm going to tackle it myself. And I think I love that thing about you that, you are kind of shaping your life based off of the personal experiences and the family experiences. This is great. And I think that what you just touched upon on the woman health and the topic of today's webinar is about the woman health. And I looked at, I think 2 days ago, Oprah Winfrey, she's going to be doing, talk show with Dr. Mary Haver and Halle Berry and other. There were a couple more in March 31st. So I was like, this revolution is going, man. I mean, this is great. And I think that having you as part of our ecosystem here within California is also very, very helpful for us. And I wanted to know because I'm in my mid 40s as well, and I see changes coming, and I see my in my friend circle and my even at my workplace, we all are seeing the changes coming. So what do you recommend us to kind of proactively be ready? I mean, what should we do? Like first is that awareness, we all understand, but I think from your perspective, because I think it will help all of us who's going through this journey right now.
Yeah, I think the most critical thing is to start talking about it. That was the topic of my TED talk that I did a week ago, which was like it's perimenopause and it's time to break the silence, right? Half of the world's population goes through this experience, and yet we've been conditioned to stay quiet, stay silent about it, because oh, it's taboo and it's private, or there is some shame associated with it. I disagree, and we don't accept. And so that's why you are seeing more and more women now talking about this stuff, which is women for generations have kept it quiet to themselves. Um, and they have suffered in silence. Women suffer in isolation. They don't even talk to each other. Now it's beginning to become more, but I never talked to anybody. Nobody talked to me. I didn't talk to anybody when I was going through perimenopause and menopause until I got to burnout and breast cancer. I didn't talk to anybody because I was like, I don't know. Should I? Could I? And now it's like, yes, absolutely. So the first thing is talk amongst your friends, share your experiences. And the second thing is to educate yourself. What are the symptoms that are expected or in the world of perimenopause? And also just understanding what is perimenopause and then what is menopause and what is the connection between the two, right? If you're not educated about those, then you cannot advocate for themselves. So just knowing that perimenopause is the transition to menopause,
Hmm.
and it can last as long as 10 years for some
Wow.
women. For
Wow.
some women, it's just like a couple years, 2, 3 years, and for others, it's much longer, right? And it's not just hot flashes. Hot flashes are just one piece of it, and not every woman has hot flashes, or if she does, it may not be so troublesome. But more than half of women that have hot flashes will experience them for 7 or more years. So you can imagine the
Right.
impact
Yeah.
on their lives, right? Or difficulty staying asleep. You can fall asleep, but staying asleep, especially between the hours of 2 and 4 a.m., it becomes very difficult, right? Or sexual health begins to decline. It declines the most in the 2 years before menopause, right?
Right.
And
Right. Yeah.
the brain is remodeling during perimenopause. The chemical connections in the brain, the connectivity, the whole structure of the brain is changing. So when women talk about brain fog, difficulty concentrating, these are correlated with changes in the brain. So all of this is a very, very real thing that's happening in our bodies. And if we don't take the time to learn about it, and then learn about what can we do about these, it will be a challenge. So the first thing is certainly starting to talk about the people that you feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
Second is educate yourself, right? Educate yourself and know when to seek help.
Right.
Know when to seek help, and then find out who is the right person for you to get that help from.
I have seen it myself too, right? Not only at my workplace, even in my friend circle, right? Like when we started talking about it, we did not even know that what are the things available. So one of the thing I wanted to ask is like, is there any testing available for a woman to figure out are they really in perimenopause? Like the hormone testing are available, but I think I remember you talked about that it's not always accurate. So like what are the ways we can kind of figure out that, yeah, we are going through perimenopause, you know?
So the testing for perimenopause is not, I mean, it's getting better. There are more and more labs that are coming out that do this urinary testing, and you can test for a period of 1 month, and you will see. And I have done it for several patients of mine, and I used to think, okay, this is going to really tell us what's going on. But what ends up happening is all we see is that the hormones are really fluctuating, which we
Mm.
know already from your symptoms. If you have symptoms, if you tell me you're having trouble sleeping, if you tell me you're beginning to have hot flashes or you're warm at night, if you tell me that you're beginning to gain weight around the waist, if you tell me, your sexual health isn't as good as before, or your desire isn't as, like all these symptoms are part of this whole complex of symptoms that go along with perimenopause. That is just as valid, if not more valid, than the testing you can do. Although, yes, you can do urinary testing of hormones, but all it's going to show you is that your estrogen is all over the place, your progesterone is all over the place, and that doesn't really help me in writing a prescription for you. What helps me is like, when was your last period? Is it more than
Right.
3 months since your last period? And that's all I need to know to kind of say, okay, we should do something. Right?
Interesting.
Because
Yeah.
when a woman goes 3 months without a period, her rate of bone loss is the fastest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
We think that osteoporosis is a disease of old age, but in fact, the fast bone loss that leads to osteoporosis begins in perimenopause.
Wow, that's like kind of an eye opener because like we always think, oh, we should only take care of our perimenopause symptoms of like a low energy and the brain fog. I mean, those are the couple of symptoms I'm seeing myself, right? I just see that if I don't take care of certain things and my eating habits are all over the place, it's actually you get worse. And I
Mhm.
think maybe you wanted to also tell us about some nutrition also adds so much
Sure.
into this whole thing, right? I think some of your thoughts on it will be great as well.
Right. So you're right that the most common symptom actually is low energy, is fatigue, is just exhaustion. Just I just don't have the energy to get everything done that I was able to do before. Right. That is the most common thing that
Right,
women
right.
will experience. And of course, brain fog as well, right? Like multiple switching between things, being able to do many things at the same time. Multitasking is out of the window. You really have to kind of start going like one thing at a time and break it down into smaller chunks. So these are real things, as I was talking about, because the brain is remodeling. These things are actually very, very correlated with the actual changes in the brain.
Mm.
So, so I just wanted to say we talked about osteoporosis for a second, right? That the risk begins now. The risk for brain health, long-term brain health, also needs to be addressed at this time. Because what you have to keep in mind is before menopause, women are generally healthier than men. After menopause, all
It's
bets are
just
off.
gonna go down,
Right.
right?
So women are diagnosed with dementia at 1.5 times the rate of men. Women are diagnosed with osteoporosis 4 times as much as men. Most of the autoimmune illnesses are in women. Heart disease is still the number one killer of women. So 33% of women die from heart disease. Um, and all of these things have their genesis or speeding up at
Mm.
midlife during menopause. Like when we lose our hormones, it's not just that we are losing our sexual hormones. These hormones play a role in every organ system of the body, brain,
Yeah,
heart,
yeah.
bones, sexual health, everything. So, in terms of knowing what to do and what supplements or what can you do yourself at home, there's a bunch of things. The foundation, the building block of everything is the right food. Make sure you're eating the
Yeah,
right
yeah.
food, right? Make sure
Mm.
you're eating things like cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower. These are estrogenic foods. They will naturally increase estrogen in your body, as is organic soy. So if you eat like tofu products, tempeh, things like that, those will help. Things like omega 3s, fatty acids, olive oil, eggs, things like flaxseed, chia seed. All these things are helpful in naturally boosting your hormones, your estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. Okay. After that, then you have to kind of see is what is the rest of your life like? What is your exercise like? What is your stress management like? What is your sleep like? Right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and food is not just what you eat, right? Food is also what you're allowing into your mind, right? The right thoughts, the right everything. And we know that coming from yoga and all that, like what is the right conduct in pretty much everything. So if you do all those things, you have a better chance to be more in balance, perhaps for longer. But at some point, my experience is that most women will need more help. Most women will end up needing some sort of hormone replacement.
So that's my next thing because, like, now that we have talked about our food and doing a better exercise, taking care of our stress, I mean, still, I think because we still might need some more things. And I think that one of the book from Dr. Mary Howard, I mean, I think it has actually helped us, understand some of those menopausal things. Otherwise, I have not seen anything so comprehensive before. It might be somewhere buried, but I haven't seen it. But I think that now we wanted to talk about that. The why why there woman thinks that we have to go through this whole phase naturally. I don't understand this, right? If there is something available, why we cannot take it? And what are the things available? I think that's what I would like my audience to also know and understand.
Yeah, and I think this is a really interesting question. The question that the audience, everybody in the audience has to ask themselves is like, are they taking any medication for anything? Right? Does somebody have hypothyroidism? Are they taking thyroid medicine? That's a hormone,
They are. I
right?
know quite a few women
That's a
myself, right?
hormone.
They are.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
If somebody has diabetes, and I would hope that most of your audience does not have diabetes, or, if anything, they have pre-diabetes and they're working to reverse that. But if somebody has advanced diabetes, they need to take insulin, right? If we don't have the right amount of hormone in our body for the function that it does, it is very difficult. Now, in the case of hypothyroidism, many times we are actually able to reverse that condition by giving the body the building blocks of the hormone so that it can build it, right?
Right.
Many times we're able to, but not in all cases. Not in all cases. I don't make the claim that we are able to reverse hypothyroidism in all cases. In some cases, we are, right? It also depends on when the condition began and when you sought help. If you've gone way too long on that hormone and your body has kind of adjusted that, it'll be hard for you to get off that hormone. But I'm not saying it's not possible. In the same way, not every woman will need a hormone replacement. Not every woman needs it. Not every woman even has symptoms. I would say there's like maybe 15% of women, perhaps 20 at the most, that don't have symptoms. And they sailed right through everything without any problem at all. But they are the minority and they're very lucky,
And
right?
that's really true, right? Because not everyone is like that. My mom did not had a very good experience. I mean, I know quite a other two other ladies. They are not going through a good experience. So why? What are the things we could do? Is this hormone replacement therapy? Are they safe to use? I mean, because there are some studies which are already done. There's oh no, this is not safe for you. It actually gives you skin dryness. There are a lot of other things they say side effects for these therapies. So what is your take on that?
My take on this is that the if you look at until about 2002, um, there was no negative um, information out there in the world about
Mm,
hormones. A study was published in 2002, which was a women's health initiative. And what they said was it was $1 billion study. It was the
mm,
biggest study of its kind anyway. It was designed to study the impact of hormones on women's
mm.
health, on menopausal women's health. They stopped the study early because they wanted to publish that hormones are harmful for women. Okay, and they published it with great fanfare. Turns out that that was incorrect. Most of the information they published was wrong. And in the 20 plus years since that publication, almost every piece of that information has been walked back, has been retracted.
Interesting.
But the
Well,
damage has been done.
right, right.
Right? Now, there's a whole generation of doctors that has not been taught about how to take care of women through
Mm,
menopause. A lot of doctors are still getting their information from that incorrect but infamous study and still saying,
wow.
oh, hormones are not good for you. But for doctors that care to look at the research and really see what is actually happening, what is the data, what is the latest data shown, it is very clear that hormones are not only not harmful, but are in fact very, very beneficial. If done right, you have to do it right. You cannot just go and pick up hormones over the counter and just dose yourself. You have to work with somebody who knows what they're doing, who can individualize the dose to you. And there's two or three different hormones, right, that we are talking about. So each one has to be in the right proportion for your body. It differs from person to person. So doing the right form, the right dosage, the right combination, monitoring your symptoms along with that, all of that is part of making sure you're doing hormone therapy the right way.
And I think like you are doing so much of awareness on this topic. I see Dr. Mary Claire Howard, she's doing it. Oprah Winfrey is doing it, and I think that this is also kind of becoming a revolution at this point, right? That where we first want to get educated, like, okay, what the heck is this hormone replacement therapy, and what does that mean? And then ask, because most of the time we don't know, like at least from my own understanding, I was like, I did not know any of this. I mean, no one told me. My I have doctors in my family, and they do not know, or they say, oh, you guys, just women should go through menopause naturally. Whatever the pain you have, just go through naturally. And then I always question, I was like, it may be true for the woman, the previous generation woman who was staying home, they can take rest, but we are working women, we cannot just take break for like 3 hours in a day and go take nap, for example, right? So I think having these talks and having these revolutionary information coming out at this level is very important, I think, because I know for sure not only my Indian, my American colleagues also, they don't know. I was like, what is this?
Yeah, so one of my passions really is, and I'm working on this a lot, is talking to companies and talking to HR at different companies to to start menopause support policies at work. Right? This is the need of the hour, is to support menopause at work, to be able to have a conversation around it, to be able to create some flexibility around work schedules and timing, perhaps some kind of time off for women that ask for it during this time. So there is work being done on this in the world, in the globe, certainly a lot more in Europe, in the UK at least. Um, and American companies are lagging a little bit, but they are showing interest in finding out what they can do. I've had conversations with a few. I'm having another conversation this week with a big pharmaceutical company.
Mm.
So this is definitely something that companies are wanting to find out about. And what I would recommend is to you and to other women in your circle is to reach out to the ERGs in your companies and ask for an ERG around midlife or menopause or perimenopause. Ask your HR, we need support. Can you please tell us what you're willing to do? Is there any accommodation for this? So I think speaking up and asking for help, there was this report, I forget, I think it was from Deloitte or what company it was. They said that the reason most companies don't provide support for menopause at work is because women haven't asked for it.
I agree. I agree. We are so
So why
quiet.
why are we not asking for it?
Because we are always thinking, to be honest, that we will be judged against our male counterpart if we say, "Oh, I'm having a brain fog. I cannot perform in the meeting today." I mean,
Okay,
like, you know,
there needs to be a strategy behind this. Like, you don't want to just go and talk to people that are not educated. That's why this needs to be a strategy that has to be implemented with HR. Speak to HR, and they will work with people like me to educate leadership, educate HR. So you know, okay, how to have these conversations, how to make it an environment where you are able to speak at least with HR, if not to your male counterpart. Although educating the men is a very big part of this whole push, because if we don't educate men,
I agree. I agree.
right,
And
so if go
And
ahead.
one of the thing too, because I think because the pregnancy and the childbirth is all understood, right? But then still the women actually are overlooked for promotion because if they're going into maternity leave, I have seen it for the fact, right? So I think that we also, when we are talking to the organization and stuff, we have to also make sure that, because perimenopause, menopause is a big time frame, like 10 years, right? Like we
Right.
cannot just like, hey, say that just because I am now 45 and above, I will go through all of that. I should not be overlooked for any promotion if I'm aspiring in my career, right? And I think that's one of the things we have to also advocate for ourselves.
So the way to think about this is if you have symptoms that affect your quality of life, it doesn't mean you have to go 10 years like that. There is help. There are things you can do to help yourself, which is where working with a healthcare practitioner comes in. What can be done to make sure your quality of life has as little as an impact as possible? In some cases, we can get you to where your quality of life was before. In some cases, we can get you to as close as possible from before, maybe not 100% there, but in many ways we can. So understanding that some help will be needed and you have to do this juggling with HR. And so it's a big juggling. Women are juggling. We are doing this juggling act all our lives. And this just tells us that, okay, what are the options? We can suffer through it, have a poor quality of life, really get stressed out with work and all that, or really see, well, okay, this is a problem that's here to stay. We can think about in a way which can make things better for us in the long run, right? And perhaps the first generation of women that start talking about this, it will not be easy. Maybe
And
you
this
get
is
some
us,
resistance.
right? That's us, right? You and I, we are
That
like
is
talking
us. Yeah.
about it. And I
Yeah.
think, and I love what you just said, right? That the help is there, right? And I think that some form of the other, every one of us are suffering who are 45 and above, period. I
Right.
cannot say someone say, oh, I'm taking good care of myself, I'm eating healthy, and I'm perfect. I feel there maybe like 2 to 3%, I don't know, but the
Mhm.
hormones are still changing. I think and what you just said, Dr. Sambi, I think it's very helpful for us to know that like your organization is also offering help in these perimenopause and menopause through the organizations, but also like if we can also do a personal consultations as well,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
Yeah. So
The
that's great. Yeah.
Yes, I would just highly encourage everybody to speak to your HR. If you have a relationship with somebody, even if it's not HR, even if it's anybody in your organization who's your peer or a step above you that you feel comfortable with, male or female, let them know this is something you would really appreciate if the company could offer support on that. And if they ask, what does that look like? You can say, please speak to a Menopause Society certified practitioner. I'm happy to talk to any of them. And that's what I'm currently doing with a lot of companies anyway, just educating them what policies could look like, what is being done in some of the companies already, so that there's already a prototype out there, and then they can see how they want to implement. The world is also changing so much these days, right? Like the broader world is changing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we also have to learn to live in this world now, and what does that look like? But it needs to be done because we are here, and who knows how long this is going to continue.
Maybe you wanted to point out a couple of policies you think are kind of a work in progress, might kind of motivate all of us to also talk to our employers, and also not like policy, but also for internally too, right? Like, okay, yeah, sometimes we are also very afraid to tell our family that, hey, this is going on. I have my boundary. Don't ask me to do this and that too. That's another
Yeah.
thing as well, right?
Yeah.
So,
I think the number one thing is to just have a chat with you could practice with your family, like, okay, you are going through a stage in your life where a lot of things are changing in your body, and these changes in your body have an impact on your mental, emotional, physical health. Emotionally, perhaps you feel a certain way. Mentally, perhaps you feel a different way. Physically, you feel tired and exhausted. You're not able to do as much as you used to do before. So I need you to understand that this is happening with me right now. I'm not sure until when it'll happen. Perhaps I will consult with somebody and I will start getting some help, and that'll make a difference. But right now, this is where I am. And please understand. And if you have questions, please let me know so that we can make sure if you have questions, I can answer. And if I need help, I can ask you. And this kind of conversation, if you have a good relationship with your manager, if you have a good relationship with your manager, I've heard many stories where when women had good relationships with their manager, even though they had never talked about this before, they have told me that they'll go talk to them, and it's not like they don't know this is the thing, right? They have wives, spouses, partners, daughters, mothers, all that stuff. This stuff is out there in the world, right? So men are aware, and if you have a good relationship, you could talk to them and kind of say, I'm going to need a little bit of leeway. I'm going to need a little bit more
yeah, yeah.
flexibility, right?
I
So
think
that,
having an acceptance within ourselves too, right? Like, okay, this is happening and we got to accept. I think that this is also one of the stepping stone for all of us, right? Like accepting it. Because sometimes I was fighting with myself. I'm like, what's happening with me? Why I'm no low energy and all that? But now I'm like at a point where I'm like, okay, this is what I got and I have to work with it,
yeah.
and improve upon it. But I think that's one of the key as well. So I think this is really great. I think this is a very great piece of advice as you have
You
given
asked
to
me
all of
one,
us.
you
Mhm.
asked me one more question, which you said that what are companies beginning to do, just so you have an idea,
Yes, yes,
right?
yeah.
So in the UK, the companies that are doing this work already, and I'm not sure if they've implemented this, but they have raised this idea of just like you have um, a pregnancy leave,
Yeah, yeah,
which
that's what I was thinking.
some
Yeah.
sort of menopause leave should be
Mm.
considered.
Mm.
Whether companies implement that or not, but at least the thought is out there that this is such an upheaval in women's lives
Yes, it is. Yeah.
that perhaps, considering something like this or time off or in certain way or part-time for some time or something like that, some flexibility. Just knowing that your company is considering this is such a positive. It gives you like,
Such
okay,
a
I'm
blessing
working in a
too.
place.
Yeah. Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
working in a
they are,
place.
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Just feeling supported makes a big difference, right? Makes a big difference. So that's one thing. The other thing is having these policies in place where it's like you are able to take time off or reduced or work a reduced schedule or kind of like be have just have more flexibility or today is not a good day I can't come in something like that. But having the ability to do that, what I hear from these companies is that the women feel so good and supported that their productivity is even higher than average than normal, and so if that is the case, and if companies know that that is the case, then it's a business reason for them to do this, right?
Agree. And I think that, I mean, women at the workforce are very, very productive already. And I think that having these things coming into the picture for policies for perimenopause and menopause will help. Otherwise, we always have to look for saving those vacation leaves and trying to take that as a sick leave and other things. So I think this is great. Thank you so much, Dr. Semby, to share your thought on my channel. And I think that this is the need for the hour, right? We all need to know what are the things we have to do, what are the therapies or the treatments available. And I think that we wanted to do more sessions with you with more specific as we move along. But I think this is a really a good icebreaker for my YouTube channel. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Semby.
You're welcome. It was great chatting.